Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. The other day, Mitt Romney had given an interview that was published by The Atlantic, where he had some less than kind things to say about Mike Pence. Let's see if I can find that article here. Hang on a second. And a quote in this article says something to the tune of, no one has been more loyal, more willing to smile when he saw absurdities, more willing to ascribe God's will to things that were ungodly than Mike Pence. Ouch. And I have to agree. I have to agree with him on that. I'm sure there's people who have done more with that, but Pence is certainly guilty of turning a blind eye to acts that Nine of Swords just popped up, to acts, I'm sure these, to acts that were ungodly. And that Nine of Swords, I think, is Mike Pence understanding that, going to bed at night, trying to cope with his conscience on the horrors that were the Trump administration and his culpability with it. I have no doubt that Pence thought Trump would be removed from office and he'd be the president of the United States. And that was his ticket in. Instead, he was just this grinning lapdog that would go break ties in the Senate and had to basically support the unsupportable. So, come on down. What's the deal with Mike Pence and Mitt Romney? Give me some energy on that one, Spirit, if you would, please. Ace of Wands. This is Romney coming out and just telling it like it is. Just like, you know what? You did this. There's no denying that you did this. And Pence's denial was basically was Mitt Romney doesn't know what I was doing in that administration. Kind of like, it's like, it's almost as if Pence was saying, you should have seen what he really wanted to do that I managed to derail. That's the most positive way to read Pence's statement. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he was still part of that administration and he was a willing part of it. So this is Romney telling Pence like it is, and what a freaking disappointment he is because of it. You claim to have all these Christian values, and you don't. You regularly let go of your Christian values and your beliefs in God to, empower Trump and empower yourself again, because your plan was this whole time that Trump wasn't going to make it the full 4 years and you were going to step in as president of the United States. That was your plan all along, and your plan didn't pan out. And I'm sure Pence is disappointed his plan didn't pan out, but I've been on this channel, I've said it multiple times that Pence's best chance to be president of the United States was on January 7th. Calling, the cabinet members in, 25th Amendmenting Trump right out of office, and then from January 7th through January 20th, being the custodian for the United States as the president of the United States. That was his best shot at it. That was going to be his presidential run. And then, and then he's out. He would have gotten what he wished. It's like one of those devil's agreements. I'm going to bring it up again. It's like one of those devil's agreements where, the devil offers you for your soul, what are you willing to give? And he wants to be the president of the United States. Okay. Now, he never said he was going to get 4 years or 8 years. He's going to get 2 weeks. But that would be meeting the contract. Pence is a disappointment. In the past, we've got the Three of Wands. Different visions going forward. Both of these guys, would claim, they're doing the work of God. That type of energy. But how the paths that they traveled and the things they implemented were very different. Now Romney is going on to retirement. Pence is hopefully not going to prison. But he's definitely not advancing in a political career. But they both had similar visions, but very divergent paths. Pence is tied to his actions in the past. The actions that he took in the White House, as much as they broke his heart, didn't meet what he wanted to see happen, which was him being the president. And now, not only did he not get to be the president, but now he is forever tied to Trump. Yes, on January 6th, he did certify the votes like he was supposed to do, but that was like the bare minimum. Anything else that he did in that administration, he will be tied to forever. And he can't undo it as much as he wants to. Why? Power and money. He did it. And it's funny, isn't it? You know, all the teachings you get in the Bible about the frailty of humanity and the deadly sins and stuff like that. It was greed. Greed got him. Do you remember that there was some quote that was attributed to Mike Pence's wife where she was really, really upset with him because he got the vice presidency. You know, you've got what you wanted. And one of the things that was triggering her was that she was going to have to go to some ball or some gala, and she did not have the money to buy the fancy dress that she needed to go to this. They were broke. They were in debt. I seem to recall something about, mortgaging their home to finance his campaigns and stuff like that. They were in dire, dire financial straits. And then somebody donated the dress to her or something along those lines. And I think all of a sudden, all this financial, they had a financial boon, if you want to call it that. I don't know what the Pence's net worth is right now. I should probably go look that up. I'm going to pause just for a quick second, see if I can find it. Okay, found it. The article that I'll link in the description was from the New York Post. Second Lady Karen Pence was terrified after Donald Trump won the 2016 election, scared that the couple would go broke. Quote, and this is an actual quote, "What are we going to do, Mike? We don't have any money," she railed against husband Mike Pence a day after Trump's surprise victory, according to an upcoming book. Quote, "Who's going to pay for my inaugural gown?" Trump's inaugural committee did end up picking the tab for that. And apparently she was also upset when the Access Hollywood tape came out. Now, when I tried to do a search on Mike Pence's net worth, it says in 2023 his net worth is $4 million or so. That's not a whole heck of a lot of money. In 2017 or 2018, his net worth was $2 million. Now, in 8 years, if you're invested, yeah, your net worth could double. That is entirely possible, assuming it's all invested. But that's not necessarily the case. And most of his net worth came from a pension. And that $2 million, anywhere from 25 to 50% of it was a pension. So he's made a bunch of money. And I'm sure that $4 million is an underestimate. But, that's just what the filings say. Okay. Bringing back down to this reading. Sorry for a little segue there. Okay. But yeah, they had some real money there. Pence was lured by the money and the power. And he got more money and made their financial situation better. But he's still going to be associated to all the actions that Trump did. The lesson to be learned is the lovers. I gotta say, this is a very layered card here. Now, this could be talking about, how similar Pence and Romney were, yet how divergent their paths took them. They both proclaimed to love God, but one tried to do it through his actions as a senator, and his actions as a senator basically could be justified. Maybe not all the time, but maybe a little bit more of the time. Pence, not so much. It could also be, where Karen Pence is talking about Trump grabbing women by their genitalia. Maybe they should have considered their morals and their ethics with who they were aligning with. And they let go of those morals and ethics on this one. What, for the love of money? And, again, that Pence and his wife are now tied to the Trump administration, or Pence and Romney are tied to the Trump administration. Pence a lot more tightly. But it's basically the choices that where I'm going with this is the choices that you make, the people that you hang out with, the decisions that you make because of your relationships with people and who you value and who you put your heart with. He can't claim to be a disciple of God and then go do all the crap that he did with Trump. It just doesn't work. Your words are hollow. It's what your actions do. Your Ace of Wands actions. Outcome, 9 of Wands. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Pence, Pence should be a little bit worried about his life review. This was not a great time in his life to be associated with them. And I think, Pence also looks over his shoulder. He's not at all comfortable with his place in MAGA land, his place in Trump world, his place in the GOP, his political future. This is a man that's under assault. And for what? For what? What did you get out of it? Congratulations. You got a little bit more money. $4 million probably goes a lot. It definitely goes a lot further in Indiana than it does in California, especially in the urban parts of California. Just saying. But it's a bag of silver that you trade there for your morals and your ethics and stuff along those lines. Okay. I want to do a head-to-head on this one as well. So we're going to throw a card down. That'll be the signifier. And I'm going to ask Spirit, biggest difference in life paths between Romney and Pence. Kind of like that one key spiritual issue. 4 of Cups just popped up. His Spirit doesn't want to tell me. I'm going to give you the answer you don't want to hear. Somebody's giving an answer they don't want to hear. Okay, come on down. And then we'll answer for both. Okay. What's the one key issue that sort of separates between the two of them? Interesting. Being left out in the cold. Inclusion, how you're helping the poor, or even poverty on your own end. That wealth that you have or don't have. Now for Pence, what does that look like? It's his world. Maybe he even ends up broke. But, it's like he came in without a lot of money and he might be leaving without a lot of money, especially if you have a lot of court cases. But it's almost like being left out in the cold was a driving force in his life. Holy crap. That's an interesting spread. Okay, so, it's the beginning and ending of his world. Why? It was like a karmic thing to have happen to him. He went searching for money, and what he found was the devil. He associated himself with Trump. It got him the vice presidency, which gave him... How interesting. You could say that he started off life trying to spread his values. He didn't have a lot of money. What he had were values. And he could go forth and try and spread his Christian values. What ended up happening, though, in the Wheel of Fortune is he could do that, or he could align himself with Donald Trump. And the greed and the avarice and the pride and everything that goes along in Trump world. And he had a choice, and his choice was made, and he chose to go with Trump and go for money. So this was no longer his values he was spreading. He was collecting money. He can fool himself into saying he was doing his values, but truly he turned his back on God. He turned his back on God and God's teachings because He wanted his 30 pieces of silver. Romney, there's your Ace of Wands again. Romney is more the type of person who lives and takes actions based on his spirituality or his religious beliefs. There's that Four of Cups again. Here, and this is your journey, the road that they took. Here's the challenge that they faced and the road that they took. Romney probably was in much better financial position than Pence, so he could go forth more with his moral and ethical leanings. He may not have always liked what he had to do. There's a lot of compromises. When you're morally or ethically driven, you're always being forced to compromise. But ultimately, what you're trying to do is see a more just world. But sometimes you have to cap your emotions on it. By the way, I am not advocating for Romney at all. Absolutely not. I do not need that man's morals and ethical leadership in my life. But I am saying that of the two, he was the more moral and ethical person. And it's just how their life took a divergent path. It's funny because what is one of the biblical teachings about it's easier to fit a camel through the eye of the needle than for a wealthy man to enter heaven, something along those lines. Pence and Romney both had strong religious convictions, but Pence got derailed with money and power, and Romney didn't get derailed like that. Maybe because he already had the money and power and he could still do that. Not my room to judge here. They had different paths, and they'll have to answer for their decisions in this lifetime. I think Romney's going to have a little bit of an easier transition than Pence. But, okay, let God's children fight over who's the more pious of the two. Romney's taking the stick to Pence, and Pence's answers are pretty feeble. Okay, but thank you. This reading's done. I'm done talking with these two. Thank you again for watching this video, supporting my channel, and doing all you can do to feed the YouTube algorithm so that my videos make it out to new viewers. And to those new viewers, I hope you enjoyed this reading, found it insightful. Hope you subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.